This week, we're working on the trailer that we have to put the golf cart on. Like I pointed out before, this thing has no taillights, no license plate bracket, no nothing. It doesn't even have wiring on it. So I'm going to use a piece I've been hoarding for a long time and get some lights on it. This is going to be a quick and easy. This does translate to campers. If you have, say, a pop-up camper, anything that uses a 4-flat harness, I'll show what a 4-flat is later. But if you have a small trailer that does not have brakes, then it'll just have a 4-flat wiring harness, and that's what this is. So this does translate a little bit. So hang on, let's get going. Okay, what we have here is just your run-of-the-mill trailer lighting set. This is non-LED, non-computerized, non-technical, just old, very old, ancient, submersible trailer lighting kit. I think this came from the 90s also. I've had it around, kicking around for a long time. But let's get it open and let's get going and see what's going on. We don't need that. Another man's opinion. Now, like I was saying, 4-flat. This is your 4-flat harness. This is on your garden tractor trailers. This is on your ski-doo trailer and pop-up campers or anything real small without brakes. And the way it works is really cool, because if you think about it, you've got brakes, left turn, right turn, tail lights, and every once in a while you have backup lights, plus you need a ground. That's 6. A 4-flat will never have backup lights, so now we're down to 5. And the interesting part is, you've got the brown one here is for the tail lights. The green is for one of the turn signals. I can never remember which is left and right, yellow or green. But then the yellow one's for the other turn signal. When you hit the brakes, you light up both turn signal wires, so both of your lights light up and no flashing. This way you don't have to have yet another wire running down in order to run the same amount of bulbs. Does that make sense? Now the thing that that's not cool is these days a lot of vehicles will have a turn signal and then a separate bulb for brake lights, and El Presidente's van is just like that. So I got this from eTrailer. This is going to be going on probably tomorrow. And it's a, how would you say that?
Takancha.
Huh?
Takancha.
Takancha brand. And what this does, this is for, let me see here, where is it? 2018 to current Honda. And what this does is it combines the turn signal and the brake lights to be able to work on a 4-flat instead of having multiple wires that you shouldn't be running. This is going to be almost plug and play. There's just a little bit of wiring that needs to be done. This looks simple. I've already looked at it. Yes, you caught me. Every once in a while I have to look at the other man's opinion. Like I said, I couldn't remember if the green wire one goes on the left or on the right, and green goes on the right, yellow goes on the left. Now in this kit, I hope they're not using these anymore. It comes with this. This is called a Scotch lock. These are garbage. What you're supposed to do is put a hot wire through there like on a pre-existing harness, and then whatever you need to plug into that harness, you put it on the other side. You fold this over and you squish it with some pliers. That drives this blade down there. That metal tab, that blade, it goes down and it pinches and it cuts through both wires and it bridges, the contact bridges, and it sends power to both sides. However, what these actually do is cause everything to corrode once it gets wet, especially if you're in a salt state. These are garbage. I'm also going to say, don't use these, not automotively. This is the stuff you use in your house, not on a vehicle or trailer. We'll be using crimp-on connectors with heat shrink. I'll show you that here in a minute. Some people tell you to solder the wire, some people tell you to use crimp-ons. Solder, in a perfect world, solder is better. However, a trailer going down I-70, bouncing all over the road, splashing through mud puddles is far from the perfect world. The crimp-ons help with structural integrity, and most people, if they're soldering, they get the wires too hot and it becomes brittle. So we're just gonna go with easy and durable. And we're gonna not bother with that extra slight percentage of better connection. There is perfect, and then there's good enough. We're shooting for good enough. Okay, we're up front at the tongue. I had to cut off the whole spare tire thing because it was garbage. You'll want to leave some 18 inches or so. That seems excessive, but that's what the destruction's called for. So I'm gonna put it like a little bit less than 18. The harness that goes onto the van is gonna be just as long, so we really don't need that much here. Now, one thing you're gonna have to do, you're gonna have to hook up a ground to the chassis of the trailer, which the entire trailer is basically the chassis. That's this white wire. This is the eyelet crimp-on that we're going to be using. You strip away a 1/4 inch or so of the plastic on there. Then you get your crimping tool. We'll go over crimping tools here in a minute. Stick the wires in there. And once you're satisfied, you just crimp. And then you give it a tug. It's good. Golden. Then you clean up paint. You want no rust, no paint, no grease, grime, nothing, no dirt. There's less destructive ways to do that, but this quick. If you don't have an impact, it's not a big deal. You can use a small drill bit to make the pilot hole, and then just use a ratchet to drive in the self-tapping screw. Grounded. I almost forgot, when you're doing a ground, if you've got them, use this star washer. This just grabs into the metal even more and grounds it better. There, that's a professional job. Now to secure the harness, you can use zip ties, you can use duct tape. I'm not going to judge you. When it comes out here where it's visible to everybody, I like using Adel clamps. Some people just call them cushion clamps or even cush clamps. But the Adel clamps, they're made out of metal. They got the holes, but they got the rubber insulator inside. That way it doesn't chew at the harness. And it just gives it a neat, professional appearance. And you just shoot another self-tapper right there. And I'll put another one right here. Okay, we're underneath the trailer now. This kit came with these little metal clips like that. This side clamps onto the frame. It's got the little teeth right there. There you go, you see the teeth just a little bit right there. And then the wiring harness just slides in there. And that's all there is to this. And being the type of trailer this is, being that it's got a hinge in the middle, that does add a small stick in the spokes. But that's okay. I've already figured out a way around that. So you snap them on, and then you just pop that up inside there, just like that. Coming down the tongue, underneath, secured, secured. Now, I'm gonna try and run it through this hole to this hole. Fishing wire can be a real pain, but if you get it done properly, it really gives a clean look. I've heard of people using a vacuum cleaner, like a shop vac, and go over here and suck the air out and feed the wire in over here, and it actually draws the wire towards it. I've never done that, but the people I know who's done it, I trust them and I believe them. So when they tell me it works, I'm going to take their word for it. Let's see here. I just saw it. Of course, if you're fighting it for way too long, you can get some mechanics wire and run it through. It's easier than floppy wires. And then on one end, you wrap it around the wires. Ow. Stab yourself in the finger at least 3 times. And fish it through. And this not only gives a neater, better looking appearance, but it also protects the harness. And being that this is a pivot point on this trailer, that's what this spring is for. The trailer, it folds in the center, and the center goes up so you can drive onto it, as you can see. So it's very important for this to be secured right here. That's the pivot point. So it's very important for it to be secured here and stay on this beam. Okay, we're still underneath now. We're actually behind the axle. I got the wiring harness clipped up there, and then I had to come underneath that cross member. I got it clipped there and here, and there's another cross member. And then that's the only clip I have left. But that's okay, because we're right over here where the taillight's gonna go. And then once I do that, half of this is gonna be gone. And then the other half is gonna go up inside of here and hopefully pull it through to that side. You can see where there used to be a harness in here and some light tail lights. So I'm trying to get into the same rut as they had, because it was a pretty awesome job. But the tail lights get broken real easily, and then people just abandon everything. Okay, so now it's time to lay out where the tail lights are going to go. And you see I don't have a whole lot to work with. There was a bracket that came off here. It was broken here, so I just cut it off right there, because the other side is completely gone. So it's easier to remove this than it would be to weld over there. Now when you're setting up the lights, you got to remember you want the white light shooting down. That's supposed to be where your license plate goes, but there's no license plate bracket or anything. But if you're going to be shooting white light out, you need it to be down anyways. You don't need to be firing white light out and blinding drivers. Also, side marker light. Obviously you want it pointing out. So if we were to use that one, it would be shooting side marker light in if the white light was down. So they are specific as to which side they go on. Plus there's the whole wiring color thing. So I lined it all up, and I used my blue Sharpie, and I made some marks right there, and we drill holes. Not that big. You should always start off with a small drill bit and work your way up. If you just start with a big one and just go hog wild, you're going to kill the bit. You also don't need to spin 11 billion RPMs, just that's plenty. Maybe a little more. It's also a good idea to use some cutting oil or some penetrating oil, even WD-40. It's about all WD-40 is good for, but it helps keep the tip of the drill bit cool, and it's when they overheat right there on each corner, that's when they go dull. If you see any bluing or any rainbow colors on there, it's done. It takes a couple extra steps, but you see how easily this is going in there. Now for the final bits. All right, there we go, finally. I'm gonna do this out here so it's easier to see, as opposed to getting down there with the camera. So when you have the wire, you snip it to where there's a nice clean cut, and you take some strippers. There's a few different styles of strippers, and they fit different budgets. This is a medium, middle of the road one right here. A lot of the crimp-on connection kits come with a really, really cheap, almost garbage set, but they're better than nothing. And when you got nothing, you end up just using a knife. If you're gonna use a knife, hold it on there. You know, this is a sharp box cutter, sharp razor. You just roll the wire on there, back and forth like that. And then once you get it, roll it around enough, the whole piece will just slide right off. Plus I don't have my glasses on. There we go. Strippers like this, you see it's got different size holes. There we go, right there, different size holes for different size wires. I honestly never know what I'm working with. I can't keep the numbers straight, but so I always go through and find which one I need. And right there, beautiful stripped. Once you get it stripped off, you twist it. That keeps all the wires in there instead of it being like this and all over the place. That makes it easier to use your crimp-ons. This is like a barrel. It's like a barrel, and you shoot this in like that. Then you get your crimpers and just give it a crimp. I'm not going to do that because these are kind of expensive, but you crimp it, and then on the other end you do the same thing to connect to the other wire. And then you use a heat source. Then you use a heat source and heat it up, and it shrinks this blue plastic, and that seals it from the elements. If you get the lower cost ones, I don't have any butt connectors of the lower quality ones, but they end up with plastic like that. And that does not shrink down. There's no way to waterproof it. So what you can do, you can use heat shrink that you slide on the wire beforehand. You run that on there. Here's one without any heat shrink. Get it on there, crimp it, and then you slide this over the connection. And now you can heat that up. That seals it up. Or you can just wrap it with electrical tape. It works, but it's not preferred. That is almost just a roadside repair. Electrical tape will hold up, but you've got to keep an eye on it. It will end up stripping off. So now I need to get down here and do those connections. Okay, I got you back underneath again, just so you know which angle you're looking from here. Now you see I've already got these crimped on there. And you give them a nice little tug to make sure that they grabbed. And then you need a heat source. You can use a heat gun, a lighter. I like using this little butane torch. And you watch it shrink. It's got like a delayed reaction, so you give it a little bit of heat and then you let off and you can watch it shrink in. If you cook it too much, you will damage the the sheathing on it. There we go, all done. This side's done. I need to get it off the lift, pull it out, and turn it around because my shop is so small, I can't access both sides at the same time. So let's do that. And since I already run the green and brown through this cross member and poked out over here, now all I gotta do is mount a light, drill some holes, mount a light, wash, rinse, and repeat. Now comes the moment of truth. We're gonna clean this off, back it out, go get my truck and hook up to it because it has the factory harness for the plug, and see how well it works. There we go. We got a left turn signal and we have parking lights. Turn on the right turn signal. Yes. All right, turn the turn signal off and hit the brakes. All right, sweet. That's done. Now, terrific. Time to clean.